Hey Ken, how comes I made only 3 Kenyan shillings in a day as interest with Zidii? 3 bob in a day as my interest on my return on investment with Zidii. Guys, how you doing? Hope you're well. Someone came to me the other day with that question and they were like, you know what, Ken, I don't understand what's happening. And I was like, yeah, that's right. You made 3 Kenyan shillings.
3 bob, 3 shillings, 3 shillings.
Shilingi tatu, right? And they came to me and they were like, hey Ken, how is it possible that I made this low in terms of return? And they were feeling so dejected. And I tell people all the time, when you're starting to invest, you need to understand that there are certain principles and foundations of investing. Number one of the principles of the foundations of investing is you need to invest more for you to see those returns, right? You need to give it time. You need to invest more. You need to be disciplined. And you need to allow it to work for you. Give it time, give it time. So when this person came to me, I thought, you know what? I need to do a video on how to calculate interest rates, especially in money market funds. And I'm going to do Zidii. And I also need to tell you why Zidii has been having falling interest rates lately. So I know compared to when we did Zidii before, when it just came into the market, there has been like a fall in the rates, obviously. And I've done a video on why the interest rates have been falling in the country, generally speaking. So now what I need to do is give you more information on how do you actually calculate your interest? Besides that, why are the interest rates for Zidii falling as they have been in the last few weeks? So, for those of you who don't know, Ziidi Money Market Fund came with a bang last year in November 2024. They were the new kid on the block for money market funds. So it came with a revolutionary product, which was attached to M-Pesa, making it very easy, very efficient for you to actually invest. A very nice, good idea. It's still an amazing idea even up to now. But people have been complaining that the interest rates have been going down, and also how to calculate your interest rates when it comes to Zidii. And so I wanted to go through this video and just give you a bit of like an overview of why this is happening and how you can actually calculate your interest rates and how much do you actually make with Zidii, so that we can do the numbers, right? Assuming you invest a particular amount of money within a period of time. Like I mentioned, Zidii got the approval last year in November. By the time we were doing our first video, they had 2.85 billion in assets under management. Zidii was basically a partnership between Safaricom, Standard Investment Bank, and Ala Capital. Those are the fund managers. So Safaricom is more like just the middleman, right? So one of the main things that made Zidii so attractive to most people was the fact that you can invest even 100 Kenya shillings. And of course, it's tied to your M-Pesa, makes it so easy and convenient for you to actually invest and withdraw your money and deposit your money. And the biggest part of it is that these services are free. So you can do all these transactions for free, basically bringing investments to your doorstep. That's what made Zidii such a good investment firm. Remember, this is applicable to a daily limit of 500,000, and of course your normal M-Pesa transaction of 250,000 per transaction, but you can still transact up to 500,000 daily. So that makes it one of the easiest ways to move money around and without being charged for it. So instead of having money on your M-Pesa, which can now hold, I think, up to 1 million, you could then have that money in money market fund, earning you some good money as you wait to use it, right? And then again, the interest that's being earned on Zidii is on a daily basis, making it a very easy investment for most people. So it's not like you have to lock it in and wait for like periods of time before you can access your money. The interest that you earn with Zidii is on a daily basis. Of course, you can leave it as long as you want. You can compound your money, but it's a daily basis interest rate. Today, as we speak, guys, Zidii is at 6 billion assets under management, which is amazing if you think about it. It's amazing in many capacities that within that short period of time, between November and now, Zidii has managed to accumulate 6 billion in assets under management. It shows you that people have the appetite to invest, and especially if you bring that investment close to their door, make it efficient, make it easy, make it accessible, then a lot of people are going to invest. And of course, Safaricom already had a platform. They have the customers. They have all the platforms and the channels that they could use to market their product and make it a success. And that's why we see that kind of success, obviously. Most people are asking why the interest rates of Zidii were going down. There are many factors. I did mention that, the central bank lowered their interest rates, and therefore it means they also had to adjust. They invest in debt securities. And in that case, if the interests come down, obviously they will be impacted. So that's one of the major reasons that their interest rates have gone down. Number two is because of competitive nature of money market funds. For them to remain afloat in the market, they have to ensure that they can compete. And competing effectively doesn't mean giving you all the interest, giving you all the money. It means trying to give you the money, but balance that out with their expenses, balance that out with their competitive nature in the market, what is being offered by other money market funds, and ensuring that they can still manage this particular firm. So there are many reasons that could actually lead to low interest rates in Zidii. And of course, like I mentioned, that they invest in different government securities, and if there's a decline in this interest rate, like you have seen with treasury bills, treasury bonds, If there's a decline in the rates that those government securities are giving, then obviously the money market fund that invest in these debt securities also have to adjust their interest rates. So these are some of the things you expect when you see that rates have been adjusted, especially by the central bank, just as a monetary policy. And then there are other things like economic slowdown, inflation, and many other financial or economic issues that could lead to the interest rates going down. So yes, Ziidi went down, but I don't think it's something that people should be so worried about, because that was in line with what was happening. But of course, some people were thinking, okay, they were giving us really good rates. That happens a lot with money market funds. When you're trying to enter, they'll give you good rates, but then with time, they fluctuate. And that's a risk that we take as investors who invest in money market funds without locking our money, because you have to accept the fact that you get your daily interest, and that daily interest means there's going to be fluctuation. So it's something that we expect as those who are investing in these instruments. Now, the main thing here is how do you calculate your interest rates on Ziidi now? There's a small difference actually. If you're calculating your interest rates with other money market funds, most of the time what you see on the app, like if you go to Saiton, Etika, Zimele, what you see on the app is basically what you have been given as gross. So that interest rate that they're quoting for you is gross income. So it means they haven't taken the withholding tax of 50%, which has to be taken anyways. They also haven't taken any management fees from that amount. So when you calculate your interest with Ziidi, you might be thinking, wow, my interest looks really low. But at the time you're calculating that, remember that they have taken away the 15%. And this is done by the fund manager. So it means by immediately they receive the funds, then they remit that money back to the government as withholding tax. And that's just their way of doing things. Then the other money market funds will always remit that based on the interest that you have earned. I don't know which one is better. Actually, I need to do that video on which one would be the best option for funds and how they could calculate that. But at the end of the day, what you see on Ziidi is net or negative of the withholding tax, meaning by the time you're seeing that money they're showing you as interest, they have deducted the 15% on that money as well as withholding tax. Now, the others that will show you, let's say 13, 14%, could be showing you that as a gross income, meaning they haven't deducted that 15% holding tax. So you need to be aware of that when you're calculating your returns with Ziidi specifically and with other money market funds. Let's say you have both. But now in this case, we're looking at Ziidi. Let's go to my screen and let's see how you would calculate your interest on Ziidi step by step. So obviously, let's assume that you've invested, let's say 10,000 Kenya shillings, right? So that's your principal amount, assuming that's what you've invested, or let's say 100,000 Kenya shillings. That's a better amount so that it can encourage you to invest a bit more. So let's say you've invested 100,000 Kenya shillings. That's the principal amount in your account. And most of the time, if you come to Ziidi will be saying, okay, we're giving you, let's say 10%. Now that 10%, which they are giving a bit lower than that today, is net of the withholding tax of 15%. So if you have what you call capital gains, you have to pay a withholding tax. In this case, this interest is like capital gain, right? So in this case, you have to pay 15% withholding tax on your interest in a money market fund. So when Ziidi is showing you this 10% here, they have already considered the 15% as deducted. Other money markets will show you the 10%, but still when you calculate your end result as your interest in your pocket, you find that the 15% has been deducted after that. So you need to consider that. So with Ziidi in this case, it means we will be looking at 10,000 as principal amount, 10% as the amount they're showing you as daily yield, daily interest rate. Remember, there's always the daily interest rate, then there's the annual effective interest rates. So annual effective would be like per annum, right? And that's what they're giving us an effective rate. Daily one is going to fluctuate a lot, right? So if they give you 10% on a daily basis, then you need to calculate that 10%, but based on the time you're doing the calculation, right? On the day you're doing the calculation. So your principal on the day, then of course the taxes that are charged. Now, like I mentioned, so in this case, you also have to look at the fact that this is per annum. Most people, when they see this interest rate, they think that you should be getting this money as it is. So if you invest 100,000 and you're getting 10% of it, you think you need to be getting 10% of 100,000 per day. I wish that was the case. We could be making loads of money and minting and printing and balling like crazy. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So you have to bring it down. You have to bring it down because it's a per annum interest rate. You still have to bring it down to a daily interest rate, right? So a daily account, daily return, because they're going to give you your money daily. Remember, every day they give you your interest rates. And that's why we bring in the compounding effect. That's why you can easily compound your money in money market funds. So it means you need to divide it by 365 days for you to get your daily return. So don't assume. So if you look at that, it means we're looking at 10% of 100,000 right? So 10% of 100K. So that will give you your 10,000 per annum. And then for you to drill it down, it means you need to divide this by 365 days to get your daily interest. Now this is Kenya shillings. So this is the money you've actually made, 27.40 Kenya shillings on a daily basis. So that when you come in tomorrow and you had 100,000 today, tomorrow you have 100,000 Kenya shillings and 27.40. That is the money you earned, and therefore the next interest rate will be calculated based on that new principle. That's why we say it's compounding. But this is the money that you're going to earn, because then Zidii is giving you that based on the net. It's showing you this 10% as the final figure after the tax has been deducted. Now, other money market funds, you would have to get this calculation, do this calculation. Once you do this full calculation, then you still need to take away 15% tax. So in this case, if you are doing it on a normal money market fund, you do your 15% of 27.40, which is minus 4 Kenya shillings, and meaning it will leave you with around 23.4 if it was doing a normal money market fund. So this is Zidii, and this one is a normal money market fund. Very easy, guys. So I hope that will help you try to calculate this better next time. And I was just going to show you, how do you actually calculate your interest rates. And remember, there could be some management fee. You need to consider that as well. And that's exactly how you calculate your interest with Zidii and with other normal money market funds. That's the difference that you need to think about when you're calculating what your returns are. And like I said, remember, this one is on a daily basis.